Hello and welcome into the Take the North podcast. We are smiling right now, along with Dan Wiederer of The Athletic, who happens to be in Las Vegas right now at Reliant Stadium post-game. I am Mark Grote of Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. And yeah, we are here to talk about a Bears win. Bears 25, Raiders 24. Josh Blackwell with a blocked field goal attempt at the last seconds or in the final seconds of the game. And that is where the Bears win. And Dan, I would say something that we are going to hear a lot of over the next 48 hours or so, and probably will utter a time or two ourselves, I guess. And we're all going to talk ourselves into this. A win is a win, right? Because that was not a thing of beauty. There may have been more bad things that occurred than good things in that game within the boundaries of a football game. But it's a victory, and the Bears are 2-2 despite some serious ugliness throughout.
Well, look, there's a lot of different ways to process this, and you brought up several of them there in the opening. And the fact that this was an ugly performance across multiple phases of this football game. And the defense gashed by Ashton Jeanty all day long. Ashton Jeanty goes for 155 total yards and 3 touchdowns. The offense in the first half couldn't have anything. They couldn't get any answers to slow down Max Crosby, who looked like, peak Khalil Mack wrecking the game in the first half of that football game. And yet the Bears showed the competitive resilience today to stay in it to the end, to put the ball in their quarterback's hands down the stretch, to get a go-ahead touchdown in the final minutes, and then to come up with the huge game-deciding field goal block by Josh Blackwell, which we can get more in depth in a minute, because it's all I wrote about today at The Athletic. Was about the nuance to that whole block, that whole sequence, that whole moment for a player that Grote, as well as I do, has been a huge part of their special teams unit since they got him in 2022. And you just love to see a guy who puts in that much to his craft get rewarded with a big play and a big moment. And I'll tell you the one thing, Grote, that I'm never going to forget about today. It was the noise. And it's 3 things that happened in sequence. It's the sound of the block, the sound of the kick, the sound of the block, and then the sound of this building behind me with tens of thousands of Bears fans absolutely erupting. And we knew this was going to be a heavy pro-Bears crowd. I can tell you that these people that are going to be flying home to Chicago either Sunday night or Monday morning are going to be talking all flight long about what they witnessed and what they experienced with that game-winning moment that was just pretty much unforgettable for everyone who was part of it.
That is such a great description, Dan. Thank you for giving that to us, because that's I know the sound, and usually that sound works against the Bears. It worked against the Bears obviously last year in a couple of games, but one very dramatic game against the Green Bay Packers. And you hope, I guess one thing that does go through my head with a win like today, and this is probably easy to say with any of the Bears wins this year, which there have been 2 of them, they wouldn't have won the game last year. They would not have done that last year. That would have somehow, some way gone against the Bears.
Sure.
That field goal would have gone in. Caleb Williams last year maybe he would have, because he was good at the ends of games last year. But the 11-play, 69-yard drive that he helped to engineer at the end of the game that led to the DeAndre Swift touchdown, and it's like Caleb, the offense was bad in the first half, but to have done that, hang a star on that one.
Well, look, this is huge for the Bears, and we realized it last year, and it's confirmed again today that they have a quarterback who, in game on the line situations, is pretty composed and confident. And you watched it, Grote. We watched it last year. We talked for 3 years about Justin Fields' inability to seize games when they were in his hands. Caleb's the exact opposite, and no matter how poorly he's played through stretches of this game, these games, he always finds a way in those game on the line moments to raise all boats, right? And to take them down the field and to find answers. And that's an amazing quality to have as a quarterback. The Bears are going to lean into that as much as possible. Look, Caleb's got a lot to improve on. There's going to be stuff offensively in this film that's going to drive Ben Johnson crazy for the next 12 days as they're trying to get themselves reset during the bye week. But having a quarterback that can do that for you, that can take you down the field when you need it, it's unbelievable. It's why he was drafted number 1 overall, and to see him do it today, we can get into this later in the week. But I asked Caleb after the game just about his his comfort in those moments, and you can just feel it even when he stands at the podium talking about it, that it just feels very natural to him, that he feels like, this is my time, I know I'm capable of it, give me the ball, let's go.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. And we saw the big time throws, the big time, the 27-yarder to Roma Dunze in the third quarter on a 3rd and 12, the 29-yard completion to Cole Kmet in the second quarter, and should have been what would have been another sick pass to Cole Kmet if he had not have dropped that one that was, it was in traffic, probably a nervous territory, I suppose.
Yeah,
But Cole Kmet's got to make that play. He had a rough game today,
say this
didn't he?
probably one of Cole Kmet's worst games, if not the worst of his entire Bears career. He was shaky. The penalties, the drops, just didn't seem to be himself. Some of it maybe a factor of being asked to try to help contain Max Crosby early in the game and being like, oh God, this guy's an animal, right? Like, and he was an absolute animal in the first half. It was like, honestly, as a football fan, it was a joy to watch a guy be in that flow state, and you're just like, man, he's controlling this football game right now. The interception, you're like, I don't even know what the Bears could have done much better there. It's just a combination of instincts, athleticism, all of it put together. And then the next thing you know, a very promising opportunity for the Bears is spoiled. And that was the story of the first half, right? Like, Kevin Byard gets you these 2 interceptions, sets you up inside the 25 both times, and both times you go backwards as an offense and have to settle for a field goal. Then you get the first of 2 Tyreek Stevenson takeaways, and you're down at the 20, and then you throw an interception, and it was just like squandered opportunity after squandered opportunity, and you're like, you're going to lose this game because of all the opportunities you squandered, right? Like, and that was going to be the story for 14 days, was going to be like, this team just squanders opportunities. And thankfully they found a way to get up off the mat, claw, find a way to make a play at the end. And maybe this is our point to talk about the play that was needed in the closing sequence from the special teams unit to block the 54-yard kick from Daniel Carlson.
Yeah. Break it down for us, Dan. Dan will have written about this, has written about this by the time you're listening to this in The Athletic. So check it out there for sure. But yeah, man, I would love like more description from you on what you saw and how it went down and what people are saying about Josh Blackwell's late block to give the Bears a 1-point win at Las Vegas.
Do you remember when the Bears lost to the Packers at home last year, and they had their own game-winning kick blocked, and the people on the Packers side said, we knew all week we were going to get a block?
Yeah, those yeah.
Well, guess what? The Bears said the same thing today, and they had noticed some things, both with their personnel advantages and some intel that led them to approach the week with a belief that they were going to get one. And even after Daniel Carlson kicked 3 successful extra points and a chip shot field goal, they had a sense that there was still an opening there for them to get a block. The long snapper of the Raiders, he may not even know he does this. I think his name is Jacob Boybenmoyer. You're going to have to maybe look that up on me while we're doing this. But he has a slight tilt to the football, Grote, before he sends that thing shooting back to his holder.
Okay.
Scott Daly is one of the people that recognized this, pointed this out to the special teams unit, and essentially Josh Blackwell said that was his cue. You know, he's looking in, coming off the left edge, he's looking in, and as soon as he sees this tilt, he knows the snap's coming, and so he timed it perfectly, and he shot out of a cannon. He made a dead sprint, dove, got the right hand on the football. If you watch the replay, as I'm sure you have, Javon Dexter's right behind him, got a great push behind Andrew Billings through the B gap, and he's leaping too, and he's convinced that he was going to get at least a fingertip on the football as well if Blackwell hadn't. And so the Bears get this moment, and then watching Blackwell sprint behind me, you know, this way, 70 yards from the point of the blocked kick through the back of the south end zone here, and have 5 or 6 teammates chasing him with that adrenaline rush. It was a really cool thing to witness. It was cool to experience their joy within the locker room of understanding that they had found a way to make the play that they were convinced they were going to make all week. And again, when you talk about Blackwell, the Bears signed him to a $5 million extension this offseason with a firm belief that he's the type of player you win with and because of. Today was a perfect example of that. And I'm sure the next time we hear from Richard Hightower on the podium, he's going to gush like he always does about Josh Blackwell.
He's like the new Sherrick McManus, like the kid out of Northwestern who was with the Bears for so many years that just embraced the position. He was a safety, right, by trade, and he did get some time in. But yeah, he just one of those guys, man, that just really buys into and takes the special team seriously. So definitely that was some really good stuff. And it's like, I love hearing about that too, because blocks are so sudden, they're random, they're historically, and I stress historically, hard to get. I mean, there's been a rash of them this year. So then when you hear that there is so much behind it, you're reminded that it is systematic, that it
Right.
happened the way it was supposed to happen, and little inside information doesn't hurt anybody, from Scott Daly.
Right. And it's not all luck, right? There's preparation that goes into this. You're searching every week for one little wrinkle, one little strategic nuance that's going to help you win a football game. The Bears found one. They capitalized on it. They got it done in the moment that mattered. And Grote, you just know how different all of this is now at 2-2 versus 1-3. Like, it's just absurd how that one little play at the end of the football game changes everything for the next few weeks, as the Bears go into their bye week with a little bit more relief, with a little bit more wiggle room now, where you don't have to feel that tension of, the season's circling the drain. Now you can come back and say, okay, now we've got an opportunity to go on the road after the bye week and try to get another win and start to stack this thing together in a way that's very meaningful for the season.
It's a world of difference, and a conversation that I want to have here on the podcast, Dan, in the coming days too, and we can touch on it here as well if we'd like. But like what we should take seriously about what the Bears have done this year. They're 2-2 at the bye. What do we take serious? I mean, one thing, and I guess this is where I was going. But first, hold on 1 second here before I completely lose the train of thought on the long snapper. It's an awesome name, the Raiders long snapper, Jacob Bobenmoyer.
I was close.
Yeah. Bobenmoyer, that guy should. I gotta see if this guy's from Chicago. I mean, that's a 10 Bear name. But Jacob.
Hey, did you hear about Jacob Bobenmoyer and the tilt on a snap?
They call him. They probably call. Hey, what's up, Bobs?
They're going to be talking about Jacob Bobenmoyer on the flights home to Midway and O'Hare on Sunday night and Monday morning here.
How do we get this guy on the Bears? I mean, he did us a solid by not being a very good long.
It's going to be fun. But I'll just say one more thing as we transition a little bit. The crowds out here, right? Like, not just today for the game, but throughout the weekend here in Las Vegas, like feeling. And we feel it a lot of places on the road. It's different in Vegas because people come out with electric energy. There were Bears fans everywhere you went on Saturday, everywhere you went on Sunday morning, obviously all in this building. And I imagine several of them are listening to this podcast right now, probably reveling in just how enjoyable this entire weekend was, to have that sort of energy, the collective energy of a city taking over another city, right? Like, it was a Chicago takeover of Las Vegas, and it ended in a way that I think all these people will never forget.
Yeah. So, and I mean this when I say this, because we're serious. People are fans. You're serious about being. Congratulations to the Bears fans that went and got to experience this, and then got to have probably a really fun plane ride home, or maybe you're spending an extra day in Las Vegas. So, congratulations to you Bears fans who know what you saw, but somehow, some way, it's a win. I do want to touch on just a little bit before we get to a couple of things that we're going to do. We're going to do some game balls here in a second, and Dan will read some of his
3-word reviews.
Some 3-word reviews from Jacob Bobenmoyer. That is coming up. But I guess the biggest area of concern, you mentioned it, Genty going off today, but he wasn't the only one. Again, explosive runs. Genty, the 64-yard explosive run. Raheem Mostert, 37-yard run. This is the same shit from last year. Geno Smith, while we're at it, the quarterback, and it's different. He ripped off a 20-yard run. This has got to stop at some point in time, and you will not typically win those games as you did against the Raiders, is my only serious point of the day.
Yeah. And look, like, you hope over time you get healthier. You hope that Kyler Gordon, as he talked to us in the locker room on Friday, is really close to a return. And when he does return, can make an impact and help out with some run support. You hope that TJ Edwards returns to the lineup and is the TJ Edwards we know. And some of that will help, but you're going to have to find some ways to strengthen your weaknesses, because there's a lot of weaknesses on this football team right now. Today was a reminder across all levels that they've got a lot of improvement to make if they want to compete with some of the bigger swingers in this league and the big hitters in this league. And so, like, you got to be honest. Caleb said after the game, like, we got to be truth tellers. As much as we're going to wrap our arms around this win and embrace it, we got to be truth tellers about what this was today. Offensively, reminder, right, Grote, that you only get to play the Cowboys once this season. And as enjoyable as that was to watch the Bears offense be really in sync and not have any pressure getting home and just let Caleb stand back there and be comfortable, man.
Yeah.
You got some pressure in the first half, and you're like, this is a little bit ugly right now, and they're really struggling to get anything going in the running game. They're not getting things blocked up. By the way, we've got a whole offensive tackle situation.
Oh, yeah. That was going to be that's where I was going to go. Yeah.
One of like 12 storylines that's like now down the list a little bit, but it's still a very important list.
Dan, as you were talking, I was thinking to myself the same thing. I was like, I'm going to go to the fact, for people who don't know, who are catching up right now, Ozzy Trapillo ended up coming in to play right tackle. Theo Benedette started at right tackle for the injured Darnell Wright, and then they moved Theo Benedette over to left tackle, and they sat Braxton Jones, and things did go better in the second half. And as you were talking, Dan, I was like thinking exactly, we could have led with that or at least gotten to it very quickly after Josh Blackwell, that you had two inexperienced right tackles in the game, right, playing your tackle positions. How did that all feel to you there in the press box watching this all unfold?
Well, you watch Ozzy Trapillo coming on the field, and you're like, well, wait a second, what's wrong with Theo? And then you look over across, you're like, oh, Theo's lining up at the left. And then you get out the binoculars, and you're looking at the sideline, and you're like, Braxton's holding the helmet. Doesn't look like he's in the injury tent. Like, where are we going with this? And so, yeah, it's required follow-up, right? For the days ahead to get a little bit of better sense from Ben Johnson on where his head's at with all this. I mean, it's not a surprise to us, right? Like, Ben has told us since late July that he's not comfortable with where their tackle situation's at, and that it was going to be fluid. And now he's got to use this bye week to figure out what makes the most sense coming out of it. But that's certainly a very notable storyline. I think equally notable is what you said, Grote, is that they actually played fairly well, after the switch, and you didn't feel Max Crosby in the second half the way you felt him in the first half. And so you're like, okay, I'm interested to get in the all 22 on Monday and Tuesday and see how Ozzy held up and see what kind of help they gave him and see what kind of adjustments the Bears made. But a huge storyline going forward to figure out how they get this thing stabilized, because there's more premium pass rushers on their schedule as they go forward.
Let's do some game balls here, Dan. How many do we do game balls?
I mean, we've typically given one apiece when Studs has been here. We can get wild today after a win like this, but I'll let you lead off. I think we can jointly agree that we're both going to give one to Josh Blackwell, right? So there's one.
We'll
and then
him.
we can go from there.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I won't take the most obvious one. I'm going to go with Tyreek Stevenson, even though he ended up getting hurt in this game. But he made another play, had another big interception in the third quarter, a diving play on which he was injured, right, Dan? That's the play he was hurt on, and he did not return.
I'll have to double check that if he was back or not. He did talk in the locker room after the game, seemed to be in great spirits, as you'd expect he would be, given the way he's bounced back these last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I'm going to give him a game ball just because he did. Like, hey, I was calling for him to do it again. Let's see. That was a hell of a game last week by Tyreek Stevenson after an awful game. Let's see you do it again. And he did it again. Obviously, he got hurt, so he couldn't stay in. But one game ball to Tyreek Stevenson out of my hands, Dan.
We'll talk more about Tyreek Stevenson in the weeks to come. I am very appreciative of how hard he is working to respond to the demands from the coaching staff and the extra effort he's putting in to shore up his focus weaknesses and his discipline weaknesses and trying his damnedest, and to see it be rewarded with production is great. I'm going to go on the same side of the ball. I'm going to give mine to Kevin Byard.
Yeah.
It's another guy like Blackwell. You'd never have to worry about him. Like true pro, he's going to come in the building every day. He's going to be available, attentive, prepare the right way. And you see at his, later stages of his career that he's still got it in him. And Geno Smith was asked after the game about his interceptions and essentially said that, Byard made a couple really good plays, and that sometimes you just get beat by a player who plays the play better than you did. And Kevin Byard did that twice. You would have hoped that the Bears could have squeezed more points out of those takeaways, given that he returned both interceptions to the Vegas 24. But huge contributions from Byard today, and cool to see him kind of rewarded for his consistent effort as well.
Do we give a game ball, Dan, to Ozzy Trapillo, who it almost felt like the guy was, and I guess Theo Benedette, like Trapillo felt like he was left for dead. Like once he was pulled out of consideration for left tackle and everyone was like, oh my God, They don't have anything. Hey, maybe the Bears have something, Dan.
We'll see, right? Like it's too early to say, and we'll kind of feel out what the performance review of this was today. Very hard to analyze offensive line play in real time sometimes before you go back and look at it. But hey, look, like because we weren't calling out a whole bunch of blunders, you're like, okay, like it's worth taking a second look at. Ben's eyes and voice on this are going to be very important in the days ahead to setting the direction of where they go up front, because I think that's a huge situation for the Bears.
Yeah, no doubt. And literally how it'll go is a bye week this week at Washington, Monday, October 13th, home against New Orleans, and then that mini gauntlet at Baltimore and Cincinnati. Dan, do you have some 3-word reviews you could share with the Take the North audience? They are waiting.
Of course I do. And they're coming in full steam here. We're already up at 225. That's going to go on the further we go. Brian Barrett.
3 words, right?
Yeah, I told you that there were a few that I looked at. There were about 100 words, and I'm like, you're not getting the point of the exercise here, folks. Brian Barrett got the point of the exercise. He went with just one baby. You got to love that little Al Davis homage there.
Like it.
The Raiders. Tylo TW here on the Twitter. Tylo237 gave us good, better, best. That's going to become a mantra of the Bears under Ben Johnson. Good, better, best. Never let it rest. Jake Bressler gives surviving Sin City. That's what you do when you come out to Las Vegas. You just try to survive. And the Bears did today. They survived. I survived. We survived. Everybody survived. That's really nice to see. Joel Brownell gives found a way. David Weedick. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. David Weedick gives us fourth quarter Caleb. Couple
Can't
more
spell Weedick without Wiederer.
Chris Remhoff gives us Blackwell hits jackpot. I like that. A little Vegas reference there. I did not hit the jackpot, by the way, at the blackjack tables at Paris on Saturday night with John Greenberg. Got a little cold streak.
Okay.
Maria, the dealer, she got a little bit cruel at times, finding really unorthodox ways to 21. That wasn't real friendly, Maria, at Paris. We can talk more about that.
Maria, it just got personal, folks.
Oh yeah, Maria understood my my ire at the end of that.
By the way, we'll pull more Vegas stuff out of Dan as the week goes on. We're gonna have a hot week on Take the North, so we'll pull more of this out.
Let's get more out of that. A couple more Viva Block Vegas from Michael Swanson. Love that one, Michael. Great way to get creative on that one. James Hardman gives us need more beer. Okay, go get it. Go get it, James. One more. Let's see if I can get you one more here. Maybe we're out of them.
That's all right. Maybe read one of those 100-word reviews.
Here's one, because this was going to be on my game ball honorable mentions. Cairo is king. 4 field goals from Cairo Santos today, including 2 more from 50+. Cairo had a good day kicking the ball through the uprights. And he was, honestly, I talked to him for a little while in the locker room, Grote, and he was very sympathetic to Daniel Carlson, who obviously, like these kickers stand together. Even when your team wins, you feel bad for the other guy who had one blocked, who's going to have to live with that for the coming days and weeks.
Well, and I am glad you brought up Santos, because he needed that just to show himself, show everybody a little bit more confidence in him. After the early season, the Minnesota game, quite frankly, right, where he missed a field goal and wasn't able to kick it through the end zone. So he needed that. Dan, I think that's going to do it for us today, unless there's anything else that you would like to tell us other than what I just said, that we're going to, it's our bye week, and we'll be hitting it here on the Take the North, just like we always do, because there's so much to talk about from this game and from the start of this year.
Yeah, a lot with this game for sure. The Bears are going to have a couple of practices, Grote, at Haugh on Tuesday and Wednesday, so there's going to be more availability and access out there for us to unpack as well. And other than that, we've got a lot to get to, and I think the next time we'll visit will be 1 o'clock on WSCR 670 The Score on Monday for your show. I'll be there with you, bud.
I am absolutely looking forward to that, Dan, as I always do. Thank you, Dan Wiederer, who is in Las Vegas right now, looking to get out of there, and he'll be on The Score with us, like you said, on Monday. So for Weedsy, for our guy at the tree, Bob Tree, Robbie Triano, producing the show, Adam Studzinski shall return, we believe, at some point in time from his honeymoon. I am Mark Grote, saying thank you all for listening to and watching the Take the North podcast.
Great talk. See you out there.